You've been charged in case 23 CR 004442B with simple assault and terroristic threats and acts. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
He has 2 cycles. Last arrest was from April of 2021 for a hit and run. There was no disposition listed. Nothing further.
Yes. Mr. Pilon, is this your case?
It is, Judge.
Okay.
Before I get into facts, Judge, I also show a 2021 arrest for a hit and run. But in this matter, officers responded to a disturbance between the victim and the defendant. When they arrived, only the victim was there. The victim stated that she was returning home. She was blocked from entering her complex by another vehicle and eventually honked her horn. When she did that, the victim stated that the defendant got out of his vehicle, verbally threatened to shoot the victim, and mimed shooting the victim with his hand. Officers were able to get a video recording from the apartment complex, which shows the defendant approaching the victim's vehicle, miming shooting the victim, that the victim then backed up in her vehicle. The defendant reapproached and did the same, and that the defendant also appears to photograph the victim in her car. Given that recent, again, as I showed, the recent hit and run arrest, the fact that the case involves threatening a random stranger with gun violence, we're asking for a $2,000 surety bond, no further contact with the victim, Miss India Griggs, and a stay away order from 1888 Hollywood Road, Northwest, Atlanta, Georgia.
And how is that broken down as far as what you're requesting as the bond?
Judge, we'd probably be happy with any breakdown, but I would suggest a $1,000 per count.
Okay, so $2,000 surety bond.
Yes, Judge.
Okay. Yes. If Mrs. India Griggs, Mr. Pilon? Was it a female?
Yes, Judge. Miss
Okay.
India Griggs, if she's present.
Okay, Ms. Griggs, if you're present and wish to address the court, now is your opportunity. Okay, Mr. Trejo?
Yes, Your Honor. We would ask the court to consider a signature bond in this instance. My client has no issues with a stay away order from that address. My client has no issues with no contact from this individual. He does not know this other individual, and it appears that this other individual doesn't know him. Based on some of the information that was provided to us, she was unable to point my client out in a lineup. So I believe that this case may have deeper issues that are beyond the scope of this hearing today. But my client has lived in Atlanta for essentially all of his life, Your Honor. He has family here. He's gainfully employed. He has a master's degree. We don't think that that he's a risk to the community. We don't think that, given his very limited history, we don't think that he'd be a risk of reoffending. We don't think he's a flight risk. We think that a signature bond could be appropriate in this instance.
Okay, it'll be a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial per the judge, $1,000 on each count. No further contact with Ms. Griggs. Stay away from the Hollywood Road address, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, sir.
Judge. Thank you, Javier.
You got it. Thank you, sir.
Position 10, Mr. Kibos.
And Your Honor, I believe that this position would need to be reset for MH evaluation.
Okay, let's see.
Can y'all stop talking during court, please?
When would you like it reset, Mr. Trejo, for tomorrow?
I believe I think it's gonna be handled on Thursday, Your Honor. We can get into more detail as to how we came to that conclusion if you were to set up a breakout room just to give my client some privacy. But that's the impression that we're under. And I believe that's being handled on Thursday by Mr. Howard.
Okay, so we normally go, I've got to give him a bond, Mr. Trejo, so we'll go into the breakout room. I don't know if there's courtroom 2, do you have a preference? Would you like us to wait until the end of the calendar to go into the breakout room, or would you like us to do that now?
The end of the calendar, please.
Okay, that's fine. So we'll hold on, Mr. DeBose, until the end of the calendar. And if and while we're discussing that, are there any other cases on today's calendar that will need a breakout room, and we can do them all at the same time?
That's the only one
Okay.
that I had, Your Honor. We can, I
Okay.
mean, we can go ahead and discuss the bond matter, but about that reset, I do think that would be better.
Okay, well, I can't discuss the bond without discussing the other
Understood.
issues. So let's just do it all in the breakout.
Sure thing. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay,
Your
so
Honor,
let's, yes, Ms. Falk.
My apologies, didn't mean to
No
interrupt you.
problem.
Honor. We do have another one, which is going to be position 7, Aiden Brennan.
Okay, number 7. So we'll take number 7 and number 10 at the end of the calendar.
All right, Your Honor. We can go to position 11, Mr. Eugene.
Good afternoon, Mr. Eugene. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Eugene, you've been charged in case 23 CR 004436C with battery family violence and simple battery family violence. Is there a history?
I had 2 cycles. The last arrest was November of 2009 for theft of bribery concerning programs receiving federal funds. That was a conviction with the U.S. Marshal and nothing further.
Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. He received 5 years probation on that case. This incident happened July 16th, 2023 at 383 Providence Drive in Sandy Springs. The defendant grabbed Miss Samara Eugene, his daughter, by the hair and slapped her back and forth with an open hand. Both the defendant and Miss Eugene live at the 383 Providence Drive address, and Miss Eugene had bruising to both sides of her face, as well as redness and swelling to both of her eyes, which was observed by the officers and notated in the warrant. The state, given the circumstances of the offense, is asking for a $4,000 surety bond. That's going to be $3,000 on the battery, $1,000 on the simple battery. We're also requesting the defendant have no further contact with Miss Eugene, stay away from the 383 Providence Drive address in Sandy Springs, no alcohol, drugs, and weapons. And finally, we were requesting 1-day anger awareness. We do not know the remaining circumstances of this case. The warrant was, not very detailed as to the reason why this incident, but we are concerned that it elevated to this level of violence. We would like to sound from Miss Samara Eugene, please.
If Miss Eugene, Samara Eugene is on the line and wishes to address the court, now is your opportunity to do so. Has your office had an opportunity to speak with Ms. Eugene?
Your Honor, let me just double check. I believe we did attempt contact, but were unsuccessful. But let me double check and just make sure. Right,
Okay.
we did, there was no number listed in the warrant application. We did run a clear search and a TLO search, but we could not get additional information. However, we hope that when we do get the police report, we will have additional information on Miss Eugene's number.
Okay, Mr. Trejo?
Yes, Your Honor. And after speaking with my client, he indicated that that he has 2 younger children. He has the alleged victim in this case, who's 19 years old, and he has a son who is 15 years old. He indicated to me that they do both live in North Carolina with their mother, but that they had been staying with him for several weeks this summer, but that they have since gone back to North Carolina with their mother. He has another son who is in his early 20s, who picked them up after this incident occurred and arranged for them to go back to North Carolina. For those reasons, Judge, we don't believe that a stay away order is appropriate in this case. That is my client's home where he pays rent. Given the fact that they live out of state, we wouldn't think that a no further contact would be a problem. However, because it is his daughter and because he does co-parent with the mother, we are concerned that some of the as you know, Your Honor, a no contact also includes no phone contact, no digital contact. So we think that that may be a bit too difficult to comply with given the co-parenting situation. So we would ask for no further violent contact from my client. And further, Your Honor, we would ask the court to consider a signature bond in this case, given my client's limited history, given the fact that my client has no violent crimes to speak of. My client has stable housing. He has a bachelor's degree. He is divorced, but he is gainfully employed, has lived in the area for a number of years and has been gainfully employed for 15 years.
Your Honor, the state would request that if Your Honor does not grant a stay away, at the very least, it's a provision that a one-time law enforcement escort be had at that location to ascertain if she does still live there or not. Additionally, because no one has spoken to Miss Eugene, we would ask that no further contact remain in place unless she is 19 years old. She's of an age where she can give her consent for contact. We ask that that remain in place until someone is able to speak with her and determine her wishes.
Okay. It's going to be a $2,000 signature bond per charge. So a total of a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial per the judge. 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Miss Amari Eugene. He can go back to the Province Drive address. The first time he goes, he'll have to have a police escort to make sure that Ms. Eugene is not there. If she is not there, he may reside there. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Mr. Eugene.
Your Honor, I don't know if I heard you recommend 1-day anger awareness. The state is requesting it.
I did.
We did.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Who do we have next?
Position 15. Ms. Kim.
Okay. Where do you all want me to go? Courtroom 3?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and tell me what this is.
Position 21.
21. Madam Interpreter, if you'll raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm that you will interpret from Spanish to English and English to Spanish to the best of your ability?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Mr. Reyes Medina. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Buenas tardes, señor Reyes Medina. Yo soy el juez Eric Morrow y esta es la audiencia de listas de causas estatales de trámite rápido. ¿Está de acuerdo con que terminemos su caso de esta manera? Yes.
You've been charged with battery family violence.
A usted le tiene un cargo por golpes y lesiones, violencia familiar.
Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
¿Hay antecedentes, señora Roberts?
5 cycles.
5 procesos.
Last arrest was June of 2022 for driving without a valid license.
El último arresto fue en junio del 2022 por manejar sin licencia.
That was a conviction.
Hubo una sentencia.
Also a 2021 driving without a valid license conviction.
Y también en el 2021 una sentencia por manejar sin licencia.
And then a 2021 conviction out of Texas for driving while intoxicated.
Y en el 2021 desde el estado de Texas por manejar bajo los efectos del alcohol.
Nothing further.
Nada más.
Ms. Falk?
Señora
Yes,
Fox.
Your Honor. This incident happened July 16th at 1085 Holcomb Bridge Road in Roswell.
Esto ocurrió el 16 de julio en el 1085 en Holcomb Bridge Road.
That is a restaurant called La Jaranda.
Es un restaurante llamado La Jaranda.
Defendant yanked the chains off the neck of Miss Saudi Diaz at that restaurant.
Este acusado tironeó los collares del cuello de la señora Saudi Diaz.
On-scene security heard the altercation and separated the two parties. and observed that the defendant was on top of Ms. Diaz, who was on the ground of the parking lot.
Los agentes de seguridad escucharon la discusión y los separaron, y cuando lo hicieron, el acusado estaba arriba de la señora Díaz, quien ya estaba en el piso del estacionamiento.
Officers observed visible scratch marks to the upper chest of Ms. Diaz and hairs that had been pulled out when the defendant yanked the chain off her neck.
Los agentes de seguridad vieron rasguños en el pecho de la señora Díaz y también cabello que había sido arrancado cuando el acusado tironeó las cadenas.
We had an opportunity to speak with Ms. Diaz. She stated that the two of them have been together for 2 years, have no children, and do not reside together.
Tuvimos la oportunidad de hablar con la señora Díaz y ella nos dijo que habían estado juntos por 2 años, que no tienen hijos y no viven juntos.
Although the report in the warrant stated that they were married, Ms. Diaz stated they are not legally married.
A pesar que en la orden de arresto se estableció que estaban casados, el señora Díaz dijo que no estaban legalmente casados.
However, Ms. Diaz stated that they do have domestic violence history, and she fears the defendant when he drinks and gets violent.
La señora Díaz dijo que no han habido antecedentes de violencia doméstica, pero que ella teme al acusado cuando él toma y se pone violento.
Although Ms. Diaz did state she wanted a no violent contact, she was also able to confirm the events in the warrant and stated she sustained bruises and scratches from the attack.
A pesar que la señora Díaz no quiere tener contacto violento, ella pudo confirmar los eventos como estaban en la orden de arresto, que recibió moretones y rasguños en el ataque.
Because Ms. Diaz stated she fears the defendant when he drinks and is violent, and confirmed a previous history between the two of them, the state is requesting a $4,000 surety bond.
Debido a que la señora Díaz confirmó que le teme al acusado, que cuando él toma y se pone violento, y confirmó las declaraciones en la orden de arresto, la fiscalía recomienda una fianza bajo garantía de $4,000.
We are also requesting no further contact with Saudi Diaz, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and 1-day anger awareness.
También se recomienda no tener más contacto alguno con Saudi Díaz, que queden prohibido el uso de drogas, alcohol y armas, y tomar una clase de control de la ira.
Given the fact the defendant has a recent conviction in 2021 from Texas, as well as the ICE conviction, we are concerned about a risk of flight, as well as lack of sufficient community ties.
Debido a la sentencia del 2021 del estado de Texas, más la sentencia de inmigración, creemos que este acusado es un riesgo de huida debido a los antecedentes.
And that is in addition to our concerns about the defendant's risk of reoffense due to Ms. Diaz's statements. We would like to sound for Ms. Diaz at this time.
También es un riesgo a que vuelva a cometer este delito, por eso queremos llamar a la señora Díaz en este momento. Señora Díaz, ¿está presente? Prenda su micrófono, por favor.
Sí.
Yes.
If you'll raise your right hand, Ms. Diaz, do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Ms. Honor.
Okay, and are you in need of an interpreter, Ms. Diaz?
don't.
Okay, what would you like to tell the court?
That honestly, I don't have no words to say, but the way he treats me every time it makes my mind go away. And he always do that. This is the second time he's been doing this. The
Debido a
first
la
time,
manera que él me trata, yo no, él me hace que perder mi mente y la razón por la que él hace esto. Continúe, señora.
it was a year ago, he did the same thing, but the first time he punched me in my face, made me bruises. That was
Last
the
year he
first
did the
time.
same, but this time, en esta época, él me golpeó un bofetazo y me dejó moretones.
Eso fue hace un año. That was last year ago, and I haven't done nothing about it. But this time got worse, and he pulled all my chains from my neck.
El año pasado, pero esta vez lo hizo peor y me arrancó las cadenas del cuello.
And he told me, "This is mine, and you're going without your necklace." He told me.
Él me dijo, estos son míos y no vas a andar con ellas más.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Ms.
Gracias,
McLeod?
señor.
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 32 years old. He tells me that he has been living in the state of Georgia for the past 2 years. He also tells me that he and the alleged victim are actually married. I know the state said that she says they're not legally married, but according to my client, they are married.
Mi cliente tiene 32 años, su señoría. Él ha estado en el estado de Georgia durante 2 años y mi cliente me ha dicho que ellos están casados, aunque la fiscalía ha declarado que no lo están. Él me lo dijo a mí.
Based on what pretrial has said, Your Honor, my client only has traffic offenses in his previous history. He doesn't have a history of violence. I would ask the court to consider his signature bond so he can get out of jail and get on with his life and his job. He tells me that he works in landscaping, Your Honor.
One moment, please, Ms. McLeod. Mi cliente ha tenido todas ofensas relacionadas con el tránsito, ninguna con la violencia anteriormente. Por eso yo quisiera pedirle que considerara una fianza bajo firma para que él pueda salir de la cárcel y continuar con su vida. Thank you, Ms. McLeod.
Your Honor, they do not live together and have not lived together. This is what my client tells me. He has a completely different address.
Ellos no viven juntos, tienen direcciones diferentes.
My client would prefer no further violent contact, but if the court orders no further contact, he will naturally adhere to the court's order.
Mi cliente quisiera solicitar no tener más contacto violento, pero si su señoría decide dar contacto total, él estará de acuerdo con ello.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Nada más, su señoría.
Your
It's
Honor,
going to, go ahead, Ms. Falk.
Your Honor, we do have an address for that stay away. I would like to put it in the chat to the litigation manager and not broadcast it on YouTube.
Tenemos una dirección del cual se tiene que mantener alejado, pero quisiera ponerlo en el área de diálogo en lugar de publicarlo.
Okay, it will be a $2,000 surety bond.
Será una fianza de $2,000 bajo garantía.
No further contact with Ms. Diaz.
Ningún contacto alguno con la señora Díaz.
Stay away from Ms. Diaz's residence.
Tiene que mantenerse distanciado del domicilio de la señora Díaz.
No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Queda prohibido el uso de drogas, alcohol y armas mientras esté bajo fianza.
Good luck to you, sir.
Buena suerte, señor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank
You're
you, Your
welcome.
Honor.
All right. Oh, is there any, I know we have another interpreter on the line. Is there any need for Ms. Chansey, anyone else that needs a Spanish interpreter this afternoon? Apparently not.
No,
I'll take
okay.
that as a no, since no one responded. Thank you so much, Ms. Chansey.
You're
As always,
welcome. Have
we
a good
appreciate
day.
it. Okay, do the same. Let's see, I saw that there's another interpreter, so within, I don't know what case that's for. But if we could address that case at some point, we'd appreciate it.
Do you need an interpreter? No. You need an interpreter.
No, I'm good.
I don't think we need another interpreter, Your Honor.
Okay, I just saw that there was another interpreter on the line that said that she was here. I'm not sure what language. Is there another?
I think it was supposed to have been Arab, something like that.
He says he don't need an interpreter. He can speak Arabic and English, so he's good with English.
Okay, all right. And is that interpreter on the line? Okay, well, I guess not. So who do we have next?
Position 24, Ms. Waters.
Good afternoon, Ms. Waters. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, and good afternoon.
Thank you, ma'am. You've been charged in case 23 CR 004456A with battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
2 cycles, last arrest 2015 for FDA. That FDA was no prost and nothing further.
Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. This happened July 13th, 2023 at 2525 Piedmont Road Northeast, Lindbergh Plaza. Officer spoke to the defendant, who is the mother of Mr. Alante Waters. The defendant stated that Waters is supposed to be giving her money every 2 weeks and that she had his money on her. Alante tried to take his money back. An argument ensued. When Mr. Alante was interviewed, he stated there was an argument between them and he tried to grab the money from her and she bit him on the wrist and the back. Officers did observe bite marks to Mr. Alante Waters, and the defendant did admit to biting him on the wrist and the back during this incident. She did have a scratch to her eye, which she said was due to Mr. Alante Waters. However, Mr. Alante Waters denied the incident, and the officers it does not appear placed him under arrest or charged him. Mr. Waters, who is 22 years of age, lives at the same residence as his mother, which is 679 Smith Street. We did have an opportunity to speak with Mr. Waters. He stated that he, along with his older brother, reside at that address. He stated that they've had past incidents with the defendant, but this time it went overboard. He said he loves his mom, doesn't want anything like this to happen again. He also did confirm the events in the warrant and stated that after the incident, he left home because the defendant told him he better not be home when she gets out of jail. However, when we spoke to Mr. Waters, he does want to return back home and is asking for no violent contact. The state's recommendation on this case is going to be a $3,000 surety bond, no further violent contact with Mr. Alante Waters, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and 1-day anger management. The reason for the $3,000 surety bond is the fact that there have been past events described by Mr. Waters between these two. They give us concern of a risk of reoffense. That's all for the state. And we would like to sound for Mr. Alante Waters, Your Honor. My apologies.
Mr. Alante Waters is on the call and would like to address the court. Now is your opportunity to do so. Doesn't appear so. Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 41 years old. She is the mother of 3 adult children, 2 of whom still live with her, including the alleged victim, Your Honor. My client tells me that her son actually attacked her and he was on top of her and she bit him in order to get him off of her. She was the one who called the police, Your Honor. She actually went looking for a police officer after this attack, and she was shocked that she was the one who ended up being arrested. She said there was her eye, he actually scratched her in her eye as well, and the warrant does mention that she had a scratch in her eye, Your Honor. She would prefer if her son doesn't come back to her home because she said there was a previous incident when he was ordered not to have any further contact with her and not to come back to this home. And he just climbed through the window and came back to the house. She doesn't really want him at her home. This is her home. She doesn't have anywhere else that she can live. He is an adult, and apparently there is an order saying that he should not return to that property, Your Honor. Given the fact that my client doesn't have any history, I would ask the court to give her a signature bond so she can get out of jail. And I think the state could check to see whether or not Mr. Waters' previous run-in with the system did provide for a bond condition where he does not go back to this location, Your Honor, because that's what my client tells me.
Well, I can't regulate what he does, can I? I mean, she's gonna, go ahead, Ms. Falk, I'm sorry.
What I was just going to say is based on what Ms. McLeod was saying, I did look up Mr. Alante Waters to see if there was any orders. I have located a February 2023 order that does have a no further contact and a stay away provision. So to that end, we would recommend for Ms. Waters, we will recommend no further contact with Mr. Alante Waters, since there is an order on him as well to have no further contact. So that way there's no conflict between the orders.
So we'll leave the, she can go back to the Lindbergh address, but she just cannot have any further contact with him, and he's not supposed to have contact with her anyway.
Yes,
That's
and
what,
that
that's what I'm
address.
hearing.
Yes, Your Honor, and that address is 679 Smith Street. The address at Lindbergh Plaza was where the incident happened, but it's not where they reside.
Okay, thank you. So it'll be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial per the judge, 1 day anger awareness, no further contact with Mr. Alante Waters, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Waters.
Position 26, Ms. Woods.
Good afternoon, Ms. Woods. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we conducted by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, I do. Good afternoon, Judge.
Good afternoon. Ms. Wood, you've been charged in case 23 CR 004458A with battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
3 cycles, all out of Michigan. Last arrest, November 2018 for embezzlement. That was a conviction. 2014 controlled substance conviction out of Michigan, and then a 2012 traffic offense conviction out of Michigan. Nothing further.
Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor, this incident happened July 15th, 2023 at 995 Mason Turner Road Northwest. Miss Audria Allen stated that the defendant, her daughter, was visiting from Lansing, Michigan. Miss Allen stated that the defendant, she advised the defendant to pick up her son, but the defendant declined to do so, saying she was going back out to get something to eat, but would not take her son with her. Miss Allen further stated the argument became physical when the defendant struck her in the face with her purse. And Miss Allen stated she was pushed to the ground and struck with a closed fist to her right arm and was cut with the defendant's nails. Officers did observe injury to Miss Allen's arms and cuts to her leg. Ring doorbell footage was observed by the officers, and it showed the defendant entering the home, someone yelling, "Get out of my house," and then the defendant exiting with her mother behind her. Miss Allen was also arrested in this case as the defendant claimed that she was bitten on the arm by Miss Allen, and Miss Allen pointed a gun at her, and Miss Allen is currently in custody for aggravated assault as well as, I believe, family violence battery. The state's recommendation to that end is $3,000 signature bond through pretrial services. We are asking that Miss Wood stay away from 995 Mason Turner Road Northwest. No further contact with Miss Audria Allen. 1 day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. That's all for the state.
Your Honor, we have no objection to the signature, but I would just like to say this. My client is 30 years old. She is in college. I'm getting some feedback. I don't know where it's coming from.
I can still hear you, Ms. McLeod.
My client is 30 years old. She is in college right now. She does have a 5-year-old son. She tells me that she brought her son 3 weeks ago to spend some time with mom, and she came to pick him up this weekend. And when she wanted to go out to get something to eat because she was hungry, and her mom just got in a rage and said she could not leave. She essentially should take her child and go. She had a friend there with her, and she tells me her mother pulled a gun on her and also hit her several times with the gun. So, she's pretty traumatized about all of this. And that is the reason why mom also arrested, Your Honor. So I just wanted to put that on the record. And I do have a good address in Michigan for my client and a good telephone number and email address. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, so a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial, 1-day anger awareness, no further contact with Ms. Andrea Allen. And was there a stay away from this Mason Turner Road requested?
Yes, Your Honor, that is Miss
Okay.
Allen's address, not Miss Wood's address.
Okay, so stay away from the Mason Turner Road address and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Wood.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Your Honor, that completes my business before the court today. May I be excused?
Yes, have a good rest of your day, Ms.
Thank
McLeod.
you, Your Honor. You too.
I think she
Okay,
has
wait.
one more. Position 25, Mr. Watts.
I have
Is that
not,
you?
I was not aware of him.
No?
No.
Okay, has anyone interviewed Mr. Watts?
Let me check, Your Honor. Give me 1 second.
If not, Ms. McLeod.
I'd be
would you
happy to
mind-
do it, Your Honor. It's just that
Okay.
I did not receive any paperwork for him.
Okay,
I was not aware of.
so I don't know where Mr. Watts is, but if you can get him to a phone so that Ms. McLeod can interview him, that would be helpful.
You can call 22392.
I'll send the paperwork shortly. Thank you.
66392?
22392.
22392. Okay.
All right. Go to that phone.
Okay, now who do we have here?
Position 15, Ms. Kimball. Yeah, just sit right there. She gonna call you.
Good afternoon, Ms. Kimball. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. You've been charged in case 23 CR 004440A with battery family violence and simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
No, first arrest.
Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor, this happened July 16th, 2023 at 4823 Roswell Mill Drive in Johns Creek. Mr. Sean Munoz stated that he and the defendant had an argument about the relationship, and at some point the defendant asked him to move out. The two of them do share a 6-month-old child and live at the residence together. Mr. Munoz then took out his phone and began recording as the argument became more heated. At that point, the defendant tried to take the phone from his hand. They fell to the floor, and she scratched his chest and tried to choke him, according to Mr. Munoz. The defendant then took the phone and deleted the video before leaving with their child and her 2 other children. Officers did observe several large scratch marks and redness to the upper torso of Mr. Munoz. They did speak with the defendant by phone. She did admit to taking the phone from Mr. Munoz when he started recording and stated that they began wrestling. She also stated that she probably scratched him and admitted to that, but denied choking. We did speak with the Mr. Munoz, who stated that they are in a relationship. They live together at the location. They do share a child. He also confirmed the events in the warrant. And although he stated he does not wish to move forward, he did confirm that the defendant actually did choke him, but stated he did not lose consciousness and he was able to breathe. That, as well as admitting to the events in the warrant, confirming that he was scratched on the chest and did have visible injury. The state does have some concerns here about the risk of reoffense, as well as a lack of cooling off period. This just happened yesterday. contact. The state's recommendation is a $4,000 surety bond, $3,000 on the battery, $1,000 on the simple battery, no further contact with Sean Munoz, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, 1-day anger awareness, stay away from 4823 Roswell Mill Drive in Johns Creek, and we would like to sound from Mr. Munoz at this time.
Mr. Mr. President wishes to address the court and has your opportunity to do so. Doesn't appear so. Who's representing Ms. Kimball? Ms.
Your
Kimball?
Honor, actually, there was a private attorney who was supposed to come. If private attorney is not here, I'll be happy to move forward.
Ms. Kimball, would you like for Ms. Kim to represent you this afternoon?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you go ahead, Ms. Kim.
Sure. Miss Kimball is 30 years old, Your Honor, and she has been a single mom for last 7 years. She has 7 and 5 years old, 2 young children, and with Mr. Sean Munoz, she has a 6-month-old child. They live together at my client's place. It is owned by her mom and her. It's a trust that is actually legally owns the house, and yet the trustee and beneficiary are my client's mom and my client. And Mr. Sean, actually in that day, he was drunken, and it was my client who called her mom out of fear because she was running away from Mr. Sean, who was drunken at that time, and she took her 3 kids to be safe and moved to the Diane Domit's, her mother's place, with her safety. And then what happened was, while she was gone, Mr. Sean was the only one who talked to the officer. Of course, officer only had a one-side story, and story does not have complete perspectives. My client was actually attacked, and she was the one who was defending herself and her 3 minor children, Your Honor. She has been a real estate agent for the last 5 years after graduating from high school in Atlanta, Georgia. And also she went to some college in Kennesaw, Georgia. And yet because of her 3 children, she's been working and making money. She's sole financial provider for her and the Mr. Sean Munoz and 3 children. Mr. Sean Munoz has not been able to obtain the job after his felony conviction, and he's been drinking a lot. And because of that, he has not been able to keep the jobs. It has been a very difficult situation. I would like to request for signature on bond for my client, and because it was really purely, she was the victim indeed. And my client prefers no further violent contact, and yet she does not mind no further contact either. Thank you.
Your Honor, I just want to clarify, the warrant was actually pretty clear that the officer did talk to the defendant, and she gave us several statements, including admissions that she did wrestle with him, take the phone away from him, and probably scratched him. There was no mention made of any self-defense claims or claims that he attacked her.
She was not able to say much because of fear, and Mr. Sean Munoz, he has a history, the felony charge, so she did not want to hurt him. She thought it was going to put him to the jail. She didn't expect that she was going to be the one who was going to be arrested and being in the jail.
So at this time, for the battery, it's going to be a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial per the judge. For the simple battery, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial per the judge. 1-day anger awareness. No further contact with Mr. Munoz. Stay away from the Roswell Mill Drive address. She can go back to that address on one occasion with law enforcement to retrieve any belongings. There will be third-party transfer of the minor children for visitation. And if I didn't say it, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Your Honor, can she return to her home if she verifies that he's no longer there with the officer?
Yes, if Mr. Munoz moves out of the Roswell Mill address and Ms. Kimball goes back to that address with law enforcement and he's not there, then she may reside there. But if he is there, she's gonna have to find somewhere else to reside in the meantime.
Your Honor, among 3 children, only 1 child who's a 6-month-old is his child. My client is afraid that her kids may not be safe with him, so she does not really prefer to have third-party transfer for 6-month-old child. Would it be okay if he does not get to have a child visitation until this gets more settled?
Your
I'm not
Honor,
gonna keep it, I'm not gonna keep a child away from his father, and if she wants to
Okay.
do something like that, she'll have to go to a different court. This is just a bond hearing.
Sure. Okay, no problem, Your
Is
Honor.
that what you were saying, Ms. Falk? I'm sorry.
yes, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. Good luck to you, Ms. Kimball.
Judge, what was the total of that bond amount, please?
4,000 signature bond through pretrial per
Okay,
judge.
and there's still a third-party transfer or no?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Okay, who do we have next?
Position 23, Ms. Villa.
Good afternoon, Ms. Villa. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Good afternoon, Your Honor, yes.
Thank you. You've been charged in case 23 CR 004455C with battery family violence and simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
No, first arrest.
Ms. Falk?
This incident happened July 16th, 2023 at 261 North Colonial Homes Circle Northwest. Officers spoke with a caller who is a neighbor who stated he saw his neighbors involved in a domestic dispute and one of them was injured. He also stated he saw a female push through the rear door and that she was bleeding. Officers made contact with Erin Fountaine, who had blood on her palms and her face. Ms. Fountaine stated she and her girlfriend were drinking, were in a verbal altercation, but nothing physical happened. The officer then told Ms. Fountaine that the neighbor reported a physical altercation and she needed to tell the truth. At that point, Ms. Fountaine stated she was struck by the defendant with a cell phone because her girlfriend, who she lives with, suspected her to be in contact with a female on Instagram that the defendant did not approve of. Ms. Fountaine stated there was some pushing and shoving as a result, and Ms. Fountaine had a laceration to her forehead, which was bleeding and blood was dripping down her face when the officers observed her. The defendant was questioned as well. She stated Ms. Fountaine received a message on Instagram from someone she didn't like, and that they began arguing and pushing and shoving ensued. The defendant did have a laceration as well, but the primary aggressor was determined to be the defendant by the officers as she started the argument with Ms. Fountaine and injured her first. For that reason, the state is requesting a $3,000 surety bond, no further contact with Erin Fountaine. We are also asking for a stay away from 261 North Colonial Homes Circle Northwest, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and 1-day anger awareness. Your Honor, we would like to sound for Mrs. Fountaine.
I'm here.
Okay, give me just one moment. Ms. Falk, that breakdown, is that 2 and 1, 2 for the battery and 1 for the simple battery?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Yes. Good afternoon, Ms. Fontaine. If you would like to address the court, I'll need for you to raise your right hand for me. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You can put your hand down. Thank you, ma'am. What would you like to tell the court?
Everything she said was true, that she reported. However, I don't fear for my safety going further, as it was, I guess it built up from the Instagram incident and just it being the argument. It's never happened before. This is the first time that altercation like this has ever ensued between us. Like I said, I don't fear for my safety. Also, she is a primary leaseholder here, so I would go and stay with my family if I would need be. But again, I don't think that there needs to be a stay away order in place, just because I don't think it would happen again.
Okay, so you're telling the court that you would like to have contact with Ms. Villa?
Yes.
Has this, and you said that this has never happened before,
No, it has not.
and you're not afraid of her?
I'm not afraid of her.
But you are maintaining that the incident did happen.
Yes. I would recommend at least, I don't know, maybe like AA for her alcohol drinking, because I know that is what provoked it, was just not having the wherewithal and being in the right state of mind to have even any sort of conversation or dialogue around what popped up on Instagram.
Okay. Any questions, Ms. Falk?
Your Honor, no questions. However, I would like to point out that this incident appeared to have occurred at 5:57 yesterday evening and 5:57 to 7 o'clock yesterday evening. So it hasn't even been 24 hours yet. So we do have some concerns about a risk of reoffense with the lack of cooling off period here.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor, my client actually prefers to have a no for the violent contact with Ms. Fountain. My client is 30 years old and she is self-employed as a personal trainer, Your Honor. She graduated from college. She also has a vocational certification with nutrition. She doesn't have a bachelor's degree, but she has a lot of nutrition or personal training certificates. And she will not be qualified for public defender's services. And she wants to have a relationship with Ms. Erin Fountain because they have been the best friends for the last 5 years. Their relationship has been great. And my client wants to continue the relationship. And Your Honor, they live together at my client's house. We would like to be okay with a stay away order if it has to be happening, but then it is her house and Miss Erin has to find some other place. We would like to request for a signature on bond, and that's it, Your Honor.
Your Honor,
yes.
Sorry, I would like to inquire with Ms. Fontaine how long she has lived at that address, since that is a disputed issue.
I stay elsewhere with my mother. She lives in Marietta, but I am here at least 4 or 5 days out of the week. So I'm here more often than I am there. I work full time at Lifetime Fitness. I have that job there. I have friends that I can live with, that I can find housing elsewhere if necessary. But like I said before, I don't fear her and I don't feel like anything further would escalate or we would continue to have any issues around this matter. But I do have other places to stay. Margarita is the leaseholder here.
Anything further from anyone before?
No, Your Honor. And again, I apologize for interrupting.
Nope, no worries. Okay, so a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial for the battery, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial for the simple battery, both per the judge. Makes for a total of a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial, 1 day anger awareness, no further violent contact with Ms. Fontaine, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Who do we have next?
Position 20, Ms. Pinto.
Good afternoon, Ms. Pinto. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Good afternoon, yes, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, ma'am. You've been charged in case 23 CR 004452A with tampering with evidence. Is there a history?
No, first arrest.
Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened July 15th, 2023 at 2200 Encore Parkway in Alpharetta. The investigators were conducting a special operation at that location. And while they were taking one of the drug dealers into custody on numerous felony drug charges, the defendant was observed by the officers reaching inside the pocket of the dealer and removing drugs from his person in order to essentially withhold them from the officer's ability to locate them. For that reason, we did change the charge from obstruction to tampering with evidence. We would ask, given that it is her first offense, and she is not the primary target of this investigation, we are agreeable to a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial services, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and we would like to ask for a stay away from 2200 Encore Parkway in Alpharetta.
Case is this? Ms. Kim, any objection to any of that?
We prefer it through jail, Your Honor. She is actually New Jersey resident, and she was here for the vendor event to sell her merchandise. She has a bachelor's degree, and she's studying the landscaping architect. She has a strong tie. If she has to do a pretrial service, it has to be telephonic, Your Honor.
Okay, so I'm going to send her through the jail. $3,000 signature bond through the jail. Stay away from Encore Park address. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Good luck to you, Ms. Sanchez.
Position 27, Ms. Young.
Good afternoon, Ms. Young. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Good afternoon, yes, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Young, you've been charged in case 23 CR 004459F with simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
No, first arrest.
Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened July 15th, 2023 at Rain Nightclub at 1021 Peachtree Street. An officer was flagged down by a passerby who stated that he observed two individuals across the street fighting. When the officer arrived at that location, what he saw was the defendant punching her girlfriend, Miss Imani Gunner, in the head repeatedly while Miss Gunner was balled up, protecting herself from the defendant. Miss Gunner told the officer that the defendant and she had left a restaurant, were walking back to the hotel when the defendant began arguing with her, and a fight then ensued where the defendant was physical with her. The two are in a 3-year relationship and have lived together for 3 years in New York, so I do not believe there are sufficient ties to the community in this case. We did have an opportunity to speak with Ms. Gunner. She stated that she and the defendant have been together for 3 years. They live in New York, but do not reside together. She also stated that they do not have a history, but they were out drinking and they began arguing, and then there was a fight did ensue. Although she stated that they were hitting one another, again, the officer stated when he arrived, he observed solely the defendant hitting Miss Gunner and Miss Gunner trying to protect her own body from the blows. We are recommending a $3,000 surety bond, no further contact with Miss Imani Gunner, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and 1-day anger and awareness. Miss Gunner appears to be on the line, and I would like your honor to sound for her. Thank you.
Ms. Gunner, if you would like to address the court, I'll need for you to raise your right hand for me. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you can put your hand down. Thank you, ma'am. What would you like to tell the court?
I would just like to tell the court that I'm fine. I haven't sustained any injuries. We both were drunk out in Atlanta, first time out in a whole different state, this is our first ever altercation, physical altercation with one another. I do believe that her charges should be dropped only because this is her first offense, and no one read her Miranda rights. Also, I am not afraid of Kiara, and I just want her back home. I haven't showered in a couple of days since she's been locked up, and I just want her back home. I just want everything dropped. And I just don't want this to ever happen again, ever.
Thank you. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 24 years old, and she is about to graduate from the college. She is actually pursuing physical education. She wants to be a helper for physically challenged disabled students, and she's very afraid that she cannot have a record to be successful in her field. So she's very afraid about this case. She is almost done with her bachelor's degree. She's about to graduate next year, and she wants this to be gone. She does not understand who was the starter of the fight. She doesn't remember. And I believe that my client was also self-defending herself. It's just that officer didn't see her being hit. But that does not mean my client was the primary aggressor. My client wants to have a no for the violent contact. They are best friends, and Your Honor, they're not from here, so it has to be signature on bond through jail, hopefully, or phone. It has to be either phone report to pretrial services. We asked for signature on bond with a no for the violent contact. They were having a vacation, and they really want to go back to New York. Thank you.
And Your Honor, just to clarify, the defendant never gave any statements to the police, nor did the police take down any statements that were used in the report that I could see or the warrant. So Miranda rights were not necessary to be read to the defendant. So I'm not sure where that came in, but I just wanted to clarify for the record that there were no issues as far as Miranda is concerned.
$1,000 surety bond, no further violent contact with Ms. Gunner, and stay away from the Rain Club on Peachtree Street. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out armed.
What was that bond again? You were breaking up a little bit.
Okay, $1,000 good bond.
Okay.
Let me see if I'm gonna log off for just a minute. We can go to the next person. I'm gonna see if I can get a better internet connection on another device. So give me just a moment.
Yes, sir.
While Your Honor's logged off, can someone tell me what the reset for the SAP date is?
August 1st.
I did
August
put in the
1st.
chat.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, let's see if this will be better for me. Okay, who do we have next?
Position
Can
2.
Without that room still.
And this is position number 2?
Yes, sir.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we are conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, Mr. Allen.
Thank you. You've been charged in case 23 CR 004460C with willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer. Is there a history? Ms. Roberts?
Give me 1 second, please. First arrest.
Mr. Palon?
Judge, officers were called out to investigate an illegal parking, someone parking where they're not permitted to park. And when they engaged with the defendant, he repeatedly refused to identify himself to officers, even though he was in a running vehicle, challenging grounds to such a command, even though they repeatedly explained the grounds for that command. As pretrial stated, there are no other arrests that I can see. And so our recommendation is a $1,000 signature bond.
Mr. Trejo, $1,000 signature bond through the jail. That work for you?
This was not my case, Your Honor. It does work for me, but I think this may have been handled by Ms. Kim.
Ms. Kim, are you with me?
Yes, I'm with you.
All right, $1,000
Thank you.
signature bond through the jail.
Yes.
All right, good luck to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes. Position 7, Mr. Brennan.
And Your Honor, this is one that I put in the chat that we think that he may be good for a breakout at the
Okay,
end of the calendar.
so can we go to someone else before Mr. Brennan? We're gonna put Mr. Brennan in a breakout at the end of the session. We have two other people that we're gonna need for the breakout.
Position 10, Mr. Dubose.
He's one who's on the,
That's
Yes.
also
Right, 7 and 10. I'm sorry.
7, 10, and 18. We're gonna need a breakout for. It's my understanding.
And 18.
Yes, didn't someone request
Your Honor.
18?
Yes, that was me, Your Honor.
Okay,
Okay, position 12, Mr. Goober.
You got to kind of get for 1,000. Yeah. Yo, so you say it.
good afternoon, Mr. Gruber. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You've been charged in case 23 CR 004437G with 2 counts of simple battery. Is there a history?
Yes, 58 cycles. Last arrest was May of 2023 for FTA out of Cobb County. An open case out of Fulton for possession of cocaine, 23 CP 218362. Battery conviction 2019, forgery conviction 2015, possession of marijuana conviction 2014, willful obstruction conviction 2 counts 2014, a 2014 conviction for forgery, unlawful for any person to purchase, possess, or have under his control any controlled substance and criminal trespass, a 2012 simple battery conviction, a 2009 simple battery conviction, 2006 aggravated assault conviction, 2004 controlled substance conviction, 2003 forgery and 2 counts of financial transaction card theft, a robbery conviction 2002, theft by shoplifting 2002, criminal trespass in 2000. I didn't go past 2000. Since 2000, I've counted 10 probation violations and 7 FTAs.
Thank you, Ms. Roberts. Ms.
and
Falk?
Your Honor, really quickly before we go further, I was looking at my notes for his that I took from his interview. I do believe he's another candidate for a breakout room. I apologize for not notifying the court sooner, but that is something that I have reflected in my notes.
Okay. So we're going to address Mr. Gruber's case in a breakout room. Who can we go to next, courtroom 2?
Position 13, Mr. Hill. And have a seat.
Good afternoon, Mr. Hill. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir. How you doing today?
I'm fine, Mr. Hill. Let's see, you've been charged in case 23 CR 004438E with battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
21 cycles.
And Your Honor, I'm sorry, I'll interrupt one more time. This is somebody else who I do have some notes here about some concerns that may be worth a breakout. Apologies again for that one, Your Honor.
You're fine, Mr. Trejo. That's why I try to ask at the beginning so that the jail can coordinate for us. But
Yes, sir.
We have a lot on the calendar today. So I'm sorry, courtroom 2, can we go to someone else besides Mr. Hill?
Yes, sir. Position 16 and 17, Mr. McQueen.
Any issues with Mr. McQueen? I take it.
None that I can see, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Ms. McQueen. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Mr. McQueen, you've been charged in case 23 CR 004449E with 2 counts of battery family violence, and you've been charged in case 23 CR 004450E with 2 counts of battery family violence and 1 count of simple battery family violence. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
10 cycles, last arrest November of 2021 for an FCA. Appears to have an open case for possession of tools for the commission of a crime and entering auto. 19 SC 172215. A 2020 theft by shoplifting conviction. A 2021 simple battery family violence conviction. And that case number is 21 CR 006298B. And then nothing further.
Okay, Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. So the first incident happened on February 14th, 2022 at 2500 Center Street Northwest, apartment C4 in Atlanta. Officers spoke to Alexis Riggins, who stated she was walking by the apartment when the defendant, the father of her children, began arguing with her. He then punched her in the face with a closed fist and attacked her. Ms. Riggins was observed by the officers to have a small laceration to her right wrist, a cut to the right heel of her foot, and the defendant pulled out a few of her braids from the back of her head. Ms. Riggins also stated that children JR and QL witnessed the assault on her. And finally, Ms. Riggins told the officers that this is not the first time the defendant has assaulted her, and he had been texting her asking to get back together. I will point out that that 21 CR 00062998B case was against Ms. Riggins. Ms. Alexis Riggins was the victim on that case. Judge Law on December 2nd of 2021 sentenced to him to 12 months to serve 60 days with credit for time served for 21 days, no further contact with Alexis Riggins, and family violence intervention program. So I just want to point out to Your Honor that the defendant had only been out on probation for approximately 2 months when he violated the probation with this attack on Ms. Riggins. He violated both the no further contact as well as the terms of the plea deal. Furthermore, we're not sure if Mr. Riggins did complete the family violence intervention program as ordered. The state's recommendation on this case is a $10,000 surety bond. We are requesting $5,000 per charge. That is in large part due to the violation of the plea and the sentence that he was given to have no further contact with Ms. Riggins. The fact that he violated that, we believe, makes him a strong risk of reoffense. We also are further requesting no further contact with Alexis Riggins, stay away from 2500 Center Street Northwest, apartment C4, Atlanta, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and we're asking for FVIP if it was not completed per the terms of his probation. We are also moving on to the August 1st, 2022 case that happened at 2500 Center Street Northwest, Atlanta. And let me just double check on that address, Your Honor. Officers were dispatched in reference to a man assaulting a woman. They met with Miss Lakari Simpson, who stated that who met with the officers, stated that the defendant, her boyfriend, assaulted her during an argument about one of his children. Ms. Simpson's shirt was ripped and she complained of pain to the left side of her face. She also stated she was punched several times in the face by the defendant and bitten on her right hand and lip. She further stated that she and the defendant had lived together during this time. The officer then called Ms. Simpson back on August 9th, which was about 8 days after this incident, to speak with her further about the incident. However, Ms. Simpson stated she could not speak because the defendant was nearby and she was afraid. In this case, we did have an opportunity to speak with, let's see, Ms. Simpson. She stated that she and the defendant were together for 2 years, have no children, do not reside together any longer. She did give her address as 2500 Center Street Northwest, apartment D428, and confirmed the events in the warrant. She stated she and the defendant have no further incidents and have been cordial, and she would like no violent contact. However, given our concerns regarding both the officer's inability to follow up with Ms. Simpson because she was afraid, being she was in proximity of this defendant, as well as his history, we are concerned for the safety of both of these women. We are asking for a $7,500 surety bond as to this second case, $3,000 on each battery, $1,500 on the simple battery, no further contact with Lakari Simpson, stay away from that Center Street address, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and we are asking for the family violence intervention program to run alongside the other request from the state. Additionally, we are concerned due to the FTA the defendant is currently in jail on that 19 SC 172215 case for possession of firearm and entering auto, that he is not a good risk on bond and that he is likely to not come back to court if called, since he's sitting in jail right now on an FTA on that case with no bond. That's all for the state. And we would like to sound from Ms. Lakari Simpson and Ms. Alexis Riggins.
Yeah, I see Ms. Simpson on the line. Ms. Simpson, if you would like to address the court, I will need for you to unmute yourself. Do you have more than one device on?
No, just one.
Okay, raise your right hand for me. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give before this court be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Can you position the camera so I can see your face, please?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. You can put your hand down. Thank you, Ms. Simpson. What would you like to tell the court?
Like she stated, like I told the officer earlier, like it's been nothing prior to the incident. We've been cordial. We've spoken a few times since. It hasn't been any drama. So like I'm fine with whatever is, honestly, we've been fine. So
Okay, when you has this happened before?
no, that was the first time. That case with Ms. Higgins, I don't know. That case is a little far-fetched, but that's not for me to speak on. But yeah, far as me and him, yeah, we haven't had any incident of that nature.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Simpson. And let's see, is Ms. Riggins on the line? Doesn't appear so. Mr. Trejo?
I believe this one is Ms. Kim's, Your Honor.
I'm
Your
sorry.
Honor.
Yes, Ms. Kim.
No problem, Your Honor. Mr. McQueen is 23 years old, Your Honor. He was born and raised here in Georgia. He has a job. He's working as a stalker at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. After completing up to 11th grade in the high school, he's been working. Your Honor, he has a 1-year-old child with Miss Riggins, and yet he does not have any child with a Miss Lakari Simpson, who is his current girlfriend, and they are living together, Your Honor. My client has no objection to stay away and no further contact with Miss Riggins, and yet he prefers to have no further violent contact with Miss Simpson's, Your Honor. We would like to request for signature on bond, and I mean, Your Honor, he already has no bonds from other charges anyway, so let him focus on other bigger charges, so that way. And this one, we would like to request for maximum $1,000 good for each charge. Thank you.
Ms. Lewis, are you with me?
Yes, sir, I am.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the SAP reset date from you earlier. Can you give me that, please?
It's gonna be August the 1st.
Okay. Thank you. So for position number 16, for each of the battery family violence, it's going to be a $2,500 good bond. It makes for a total of a $5,000 good bond. No further contact with Ms. Riggins. Stay away from the Center Street address. No drugs, alcohol, weapons while out on bond. For position 17, for the battery family violence charges, it will be a $2,500 good bond per charge. For each of the battery family violence, for the simple battery, $1,000 good bond. It makes for a total of a $6,000 surety bond. No further violent contact with Ms. Simpson, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons for each as a condition of each of the bonds.
Your Honor, the first address and the second address are all same address, Your Honor, and it is my client's address. So if he has to stay away from the first address, which he is allowed to live with Miss Simpson's, it will be kind of contradictory. to each
And
other,
your-
so can we have?
Your Honor, I have two different apartment numbers at the same
Oh.
address. So I think
I don't,
that's
I
where-
don't mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you guys off, but she doesn't live out here anymore, and it's kind of like two different buildings. She hasn't lived out here for over a year now.
And Your Honor, I would like to confirm that with Miss Riggins before we not give a stay away as to her address.
Okay, so why don't we say, Miss Simpson? Miss Simpson?
Yes.
Do you live at the 2500 Center Street C4 address?
No, ma'am. No, sir. I'm sorry. I live in D.
And you live in D? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So what I'm going to say as far as position 16 is no further contact with Ms. Riggins and stay away from Ms. Riggins's residence. If you can locate Ms. Riggins's residence, Ms. Falk, we'll put it in the order.
Yes, sir. I did put the address that we had for Miss Riggins in the chat to the litigation manager, which is that different building over at the 2500 Center Street address.
That's the C4?
We had for Miss Riggins the C4 address, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, if nothing further, Ms. Kim?
Yes.
He seems adamant that he wants, I guess, your attention.
Okay, Mr. McQueen, please feel free to call me. I'll be happy to explain anything and everything. You have a right to remain silent. It is your constitutional right. You don't want to hurt your case.
Okay, so Mr. McQueen, Miss Kim will speak with you at a later date. I've already pronounced the bond on here, okay?
I'm already on probation for Miss Riggins' case. They already put me on probation for that.
Hold on now, Mr. McQueen. I already know that. So this is a different charge that you're charged with, and not something that had to do with that previous charge. So I don't want you to say anything else about any of that, okay? So Miss Kim will be in touch with you. All right, who do we have next?
Your Honor, and while they're bringing that person up, could you give me the bond again? My internet was going in and out while you were speaking, and I missed most of that.
Okay, for the 16, it's $2,500 per charge, so $5,000 surety bond on that one. For 17, it's $2,500 surety bond on each of the batteries and $1,000 surety bond on the simple battery, making for a total of $6,000. So it's a $5,000 and a $6,000 surety bond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome. Okay, who do we have next?
Position 25, Mr. Watts.
Good afternoon, Mr. Watts. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the state court expedited accusation calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Watts, you've been charged in case 23 CR 004457J with a simple battery. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
Yes, one moment. 11 cycles. Last arrest was from October of 2021 for a simple battery.
No.
It appears to have an open case. The first is 23 SC 186417. That is for possession of meth, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, use of firearm by a convicted felon during the commission of a crime, and affixing materials to windows, windshields that reduce light transmission. That is a pretrial bond. Actually, that particular case is not a pretrial bond. He has a second open case. And that case number is 22 SC 184757. That is for possession of meth, possession of a firearm or a knife during the commission of a felony, possession of MDMA, possession of a controlled substance, Schedule 1, and affixing materials to windows, windshields that reduce light transmission. That is a pretrial case, and we're surrendering that bond. He appears to be on 3 separate probations that was all sentenced on the same date. From 03 SC 08777, 03SC 08998, and 03SC 09628. Those charges include armed robbery, ag assault, possession of a firearm, possession of cocaine with intent to distribute. It was from November of 2004, 15 years confinement, 15 years probation on 2 of those cases, and then 10 years confinement, 20 years probation on the 3rd case. And nothing further.
Ms. Falk?
Your Honor, the state also located 2 more cases that he was sentenced on at the same time as those 03 cases. That was 04 SC 14012. He was sentenced on November 5th of 2004 for hijacking a motor vehicle, possession of firearm, and 03 SC 09630, sentenced on armed robbery, aggravated assault, and possession of firearm. All of those were sentenced at the same time. The defendant has been in custody, was in custody from November of 2004, and he was paroled on August 2nd of 2021 per our information from the Department of Corrections. So he's only been out of custody for less than 2 years. This incident happened July 16th, 2023 at 751 Fairburn Road Southwest, Atlanta, at around 8 a.m. Officers spoke to Sarinth Daniel, who stated the defendant grabbed her mother's arm, Ms. Shayla Thomas, and instructed her to get inside a parked car outside. Because of that, Ms. Daniel was concerned, called the police. The defendant then drove up while the police were waiting with Ms. Thomas inside the vehicle. Ms. Thomas stated she called police several hours prior, and police had come out. There was a police report number associated with that. And she said while she was asleep on the sofa, she heard a noise coming from her bedroom. Ms. Thomas stated that the defendant exited her bedroom, grabbed her by the hair, told her that they were leaving. She stated she eventually left with him. They went to a gas station and then to his family member's house to have a conversation. Officers also observed that Ms. Thomas had a black eye. When she was questioned, she stated the defendant caused it a few days ago, but she refrained from calling the police because she was apprehensive about getting him in trouble. However, he did break her phone and she did report that to the police. The defendant also has a probation violation from April 1st, 2022, where he was revoked for 5 months based on these new charges, the 22 SC case for possession of Schedule 1 and possession of a firearm. And the state overall is just very concerned with this defendant's history. I mean, he has about 6 cases for armed robbery, aggravated assault, possession of firearm. He just got out of jail less than 2 months ago. He's already got 2 new cases, felony cases, and now has this case. Additionally, we are concerned that Ms. Daniel, that he brought Ms. Thomas out of the house forcibly against her will. It caused Ms. Daniel, her daughter, to have to call the police. Overall, we're just concerned about the level of violence being employed here, the level of violence he's employed in previous cases, and the risk of danger to this victim. For that reason, the state is requesting a $10,000 surety bond. That's in no further contact with Ms. Shayla Thomas or Sarinth Daniel. Stay away from 751 Fairburn Road Southwest, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. Your Honor, we would like to at this time sound for either Ms. Sarinth Daniel or Ms. Thomas.
Ms. Daniel or Ms. Thomas is on the line. Now is your opportunity to address the court if you choose. Doesn't appear so, Ms. Falk. Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 38 years old. He is employed, Your Honor. He works in construction, he tells me. He also tells me that he and his girlfriend, they were having a verbal dispute, and he just wanted to get his clothes so he could leave, so he could get away from the apartment, and she didn't want him to leave, Your Honor. He denies that he struck her. I understand that my client does have some history, Your Honor, but he does not make a lot of money, and I would ask the court to take that into consideration in setting his bond. A $10,000 bond is essentially no bond for my client. They would not be able to make that bond, so I would ask the court to considerably reduce that bond, because I know the court is unlikely to give him a signature bond. Nothing further, Your Honor.
It's going to be a $5,000 surety bond. No further contact with Ms. Daniel or Ms. Thomas. Stay away from the Fairburn Road address, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond.
Thank
Good
you.
luck to you, Mr. Watts. Thank you, Ms. McLeod, for helping us out this afternoon, and taking that. We appreciate it.
May I be excused, Your Honor?
Yes, will I see you in the morning at SAP?
I do not believe I have anyone. But
Okay, I'll see you next time.
yes, Your Honor. Have a good evening.
You too. Who do we have next?
Position 19, Mr. Nystrom.
Good afternoon, Mr. Nystrom. I'm Judge Eric Morrow. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're conducting by video. Do you agree to have your case heard by video?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Mr. Nystrom, you've been charged in case 23 CR 004417Y with loitering and prowling. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
I showed 30 cycles. Last arrest was May 12th of this year for theft by shoplifting, which was a conviction. 2017 conviction for willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer and drug-related objects. 2009 conviction for use or possession. I think that was a conviction out of Florida. I didn't get the full name. 2009 trespassing conviction. 2010 possession of cannabis conviction, and 1 FTA.
Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened at 800 West Peachtree Street, Georgia Tech campus on July 14th. The defendant was at that location. A witness and a security camera saw him loitering around the bike racks. And when they arrived at that location, he had removed a rear tire from a secured bike and then left an area on another bike that he did not arrive to that location on. The state did not charge theft by taking because we have not been able to identify a victim or whether that bicycle was taken from another person. State's recommendation on this case is going to be a $2,000 surety bond, stay away from 800 West Peachtree Street, Georgia Tech campus, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. That's all for the state.
Thank you. Ms. Kim?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 22 years old and he does not have a phone. At this point, he's staying at 400 Lucky Street, which is a shelter for the homeless. Your Honor, he will be getting the package from our jail officers about the housing resources. And also he is self-employed doing the landscaping. And he completed up to 11th grade in high school. He does not have a high school diploma. We are qualifying him for public defender services because his income from landscaping is kind of low enough for him to be qualified for public defender services. So we would like to request for a signature on bond. And if not, we would like to request for maximum $500 good bond. Thank you.
Okay, it's going to be a $500 good bond. Stay away from the Georgia Tech campus at 800 West Peachtree Street, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Ms. Kim, please make sure that I believe you've already said a social worker visit, but if he's not out by the SAP calendar, if you will have the social worker report to me, I'd appreciate it.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
luck to you, Mr. Nystrom.
Position 22, Mr. Rogers.
Afternoon, Judge.
Good afternoon, Mr. Rogers. This is the State Court Expedited Accusation Calendar that we're doing by video. You agree to have your case by video?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Rogers, you've been charged in case 23 CR 004454F with willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer and escape. Is there a history, Ms. Roberts?
18 cycles. I'm showing his last arrest being in, double checking, in 1996 for a robbery, willful obstruction, violation of Georgia Controlled Substance Act, and kidnapping. I don't see a disposition on that case. Has a 1996 theft by shoplifting and possession of tools during the commission of a crime conviction, 1991 and 1988 dangerous drugs conviction, 1984 kidnapping and false imprisonment conviction, 1984 robbery conviction, 1982 theft by receiving stolen property, and then a 1983 and 1981 burglary conviction. Nothing further.
Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. This happened July 15th, 2023. Officers saw the defendant drinking in public. They approached the defendant and detained him. He gave his name and date of birth, and the officer checked several times, but the information would not come back on the system. The officer then asked the girlfriend of the defendant to retrieve his state ID from their home. While doing so, the defendant admitted that he gave the officer the wrong date of birth because he thought he had a warrant for a traffic violation. With the right date of birth, the officer was able to identify the defendant. He was placed in the patrol vehicle, and while speaking to the defendant's family, two bystanders approached the officer and told him that the defendant escaped from the back of the patrol car by reaching through an open window and opening the vehicle from the outside. The defendant was eventually located behind a trash compactor and was arrested. We do take note of the fact that the defendant's cycles are very remote, and the state is recommending a $4,000 signature bond through pretrial services, $2,000 for each charge, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. That's all for the state.
Ms. Kim?
Yes, we would like to request for a signature bond through jail, Your Honor. It was giving a wrong year, 1963 instead of 1962. He is 61 years old, Your Honor, and he has the oldest child he has is 43 years. He's retired officially. However, he still cuts trees to make a living. He completed his GED, and he's been living with his mother as a full-time caregiver for 84 years old mother. We would like to request for a signature on bond through jail. Thank you.
Your Honor, the state requested pretrial services because the defendant proved to be just a little slippery. So we would like to have some sort of monitoring, even if it's by phone.
Ms. Kim, does he have a place to stay?
Yes, he has a stay. He stays at 515 Fulton Street. He resides with his mother.
Okay. Mr. Rogers, I'm going to let you out, but you know you're going to have to come back to answer for these charges, and if you don't come back, they're going to put a warrant out for you. You understand that, Mr. Rogers? Okay, so it's going to be $1,000 signature bond through the jail on both charges. So a $2,000 signature bond through the jail, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. Okay. All right, good luck to you, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, ma'am.
Your Honor, I believe the rest is the breakout sessions y'all request.
Okay, let me just make sure before we go. So I position number 6, Mr. Bozeman.
6.
We don't need a breakout for 6, do we? So do we have Mr. Bozeman in the courtroom?
No, that's a female.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sierra Ms. Bozeman.
Oh, she's in, ACD.
Oh, reset,
Medical research.
That's going to be a medical reset.
Okay,
Thank you.
let's see, 13, let's break out. 18. Okay, all right, so.
What was gonna be a medical reset? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Position number 6, Ms. Bozeman.
Okay.
Okay, and are we gonna need everyone in the breakout? I believe so. And it's one of the victims, or who is Miss Myers that's on the line? Do we know what case?
She wanted to talk to you about Ms. Myers. My mom, she wanted to ask how much to bond me out. Who wants that?
I'm sorry, I don't know who's talking.
That's position 18, Mr. Miller. Mom.
Okay, we'll be back with him. We're gonna address his case in a breakout room. So I just wanted to see who this Sherry Myers was on.
That's his mom, his mother.
Oh, that's his mother. Oh, okay, thank you. All right. So can we can you go ahead, Ms. Champion, and place us all in a breakout room? I think that it's gonna be all the solicitors and public defenders and myself. And Ms. Lewis.
The rest of them, but they all going to the breakout session. Yeah.
They on this case. I unmuted it. So I don't know what's going on. They going in a breakout room. Just wait a minute. It's unmuted.
Yeah, they'll be right back. Just mute yourself back. Oh.
Don't worry, ma'am. I just turned off the camera. We still on.
The parents for Mr. Brenham. You still on the line?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
We're gonna put you in a breakout room where you can discuss the matter with the prosecutor and the judge. So you're gonna have a thing that's gonna pop up and allow you in the room. And
Thank
just, or it'll put you in there, okay?
Okay.
Ma'am, Miss Sherry Myers. When the court starts, you can't not be driving, ma'am. You're on mute, so I can't hear you.
I think the court is very, for the judge. I think she's looking for a place to come over. Looking around.
Ms. Champion,
Yes.
and when Miss Kim get back in, she got kicked out. Can you put her back in the breakout room for us, please?
Yes.
When she logs back on.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, it does look like the jail is not with us, so we will be in recess until the jail returns.
Your Honor, the jail just called me. I have them on speakerphone. They were wondering if we could just read out what the bond amounts were for them. I don't know if that's
Yeah, well, yeah, I was getting ready to let you know their internet is down, they can't get on.
right.
Okay, just tell me who they want to put on the phone first.
Can y'all hear Judge Morrow?
Yeah, position 7, Mr. Brennan. Okay, put it over there.
And I don't know if we lost Mr. and Ms. Brennan. Oh, no, there they go.
We're here.
And I don't know if you heard that, Mr. and Ms. Brennan, they're having some trouble at the jail and there's no internet. So I'm going to speak with your son over the phone and explain to him what's going on, okay?
Great.
Okay.
Mr. Brennan, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, we've had a chance, an opportunity to discuss your case with your lawyer and with the state and also with your parents who are here with us. You are going to receive a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial services, but you are to go be released to go to Red Oak Recovery, okay? You're also not to have any further violent contact with either of your parents. You understand me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so good luck to you, sir.
Is that 2,500 each count?
It's 4,000 signature for the battery, 1,000 signature for the criminal trespass, total 5,000 signature bond through pretrial. Did you get that, Jail?
Yes, sir.
Recording in progress.
Can you hear me?
They said I think they did hear you, Your Honor. They said that position 10 is the next.
Oh, okay. I
Perfect.
didn't hear them then. So, Mr. Ms. Brennan, thank you for being here this afternoon. Good luck to you all with your son.
Great. Thank you.
Let's see, is Mr. DeBose on the line?
Sir.
Mr. DeBose, we've also had an opportunity to discuss your case with your lawyer and with the state. It's going to be a $1,500 good bond. You are to stay away from that Chevron on Lakewood Avenue. You're to have your mental health evaluation, and we're going to reset you for a competency calendar that's on August 10th, sir.
Hey, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Stay at your house.
All right.
Take your phone.
Mr. Trejo, if you wouldn't mind speaking with Mr. DeBose at a later time to explain to him.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I appreciate it. Who do we have next?
Mr. Goober.
Are you on the line, Mr. Goober?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Goober, we've also had an opportunity to discuss your case. It's going to be a $2,500 good bond per charge, which makes for $1,000 good bond. You're to have no further contact with Miss Melissa Rayleigh and Mr. Anderson. You are also going to receive a mental health evaluation, and you're also going to go on our competency calendar on August 10th, sir. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond. And let him know also that if it needs to be explained to Mr. Trejo, we'll get in touch with him and also explain it to him, okay?
All right. 17 is Hill.
Okay. Can you hear me, Mr. Hill? Mr. Hill.
I think he can hear you, Your Honor. Let me try and,
Okay, Mr. Hill, we've had an opportunity to discuss your case also. It's gonna be a $4,000 good bond. You're to stay away from this Astor Avenue address. No further contact with the Rochelle Marshall. You will also have a mental health evaluation and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons while out on bond, Mr. Hill.
Yes, sir.
All right, good luck to you, sir.
And the last one is, position 18, Mr. Miller.
I think they said the next one is position 18, Your Honor.
Okay. And I was looking to see if, because I knew that, that his parents were on the line, or I thought Sherry Myers.
Yes, Your Honor, his mother is on the line, I believe. She
Okay.
was, and yeah,
They
Right.
were, yeah, I'm not seeing anybody on the line under, except for staff anymore.
Right, they were here just a
Yeah.
moment ago, so I wanted to explain to them, but they've dropped off, so.
Yeah.
Mr. Miller, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, Mr. Miller, we've also had an opportunity to discuss your case. It's gonna be $1,000 surety bond. You stay away from that Barnes and Noble on 40, at 48 Fifth Street. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and they're gonna have a social worker come visit you while you're there, okay?
Okay.
All right, good luck to you, Mr. Miller. All right, I think that covers everyone. If that's the case, when Ms. Lewis, when you're ready, we can go over the calendar.
I'm ready, Judge.
Okay. And unless the jail can be excused, unless they want to hear us go over the calendar, Mr. Trejo. I don't know if they're still on the line or not.
They are.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Lewis.
Okay, the SAP reset date is August the 1st. Position number 1 is a $2,000 surety reset for SAP. Position number 2 is a $1,000 SOB through the jail, reset further notice. Position number 3 is a total of a $2,000 SOB through pretrial per judge, reset further notice. Position number 4 is a $4,000 SOB through pretrial per judge, reset further notice. Position number 5 is a $3,000 SOB through pretrial per judge, reset further notice. Position number 6 is a medical reset to the next SEA counter tomorrow for July the 18th. Position number 7 is a total of a $5,000 SOB through pretrial. Position reset further notice. Position number 8 is a $3,000 SOB through pretrial per judge, reset further notice. Position number 9 is a $3,000 SOB through pretrial per judge, reset further notice. Position number 10 is a $1,500 good bond, reset for the competency counter for August the 10th. Position number 11 is a total of a $4,000 SOB through pretrial per judge, reset further notice. Position number 12 is a total of a $5,000 surety bond, reset for the competency counter for August the 10th. Position number 13 is a $4,000 good bond, reset for the competency counter for August the 10th. Position number 14 is a total of a $2,500 SOB through pretrial, reset further notice. Position number 15 is a total of a $4,000 SOB through pretrial per judge, reset further notice. Position number 16 is a total of a $5,000 surety bond, reset for SAP. Position 17 is a total of a $6,000 surety bond, reset for SAP. Position number 18 is a $1,000 surety, reset for SAP. Position number 19 is a $500 good bond reset for SAP. Position number 20 is a $3,000 SOB through the jail, reset further notice. Position 21 is a $2,000 surety bond, reset for SAP. Position number 22 is a total of a $2,000 SOB through the jail, reset further notice. Position 23 is a total of a $4,000 SOB through pretrial per judge, reset further notice. Position number 24 is a $3,000 SOB through pretrial per judge, reset further notice. Position 25 is a $5,000 good bond, reset for SAP. Position 26 is a $3,000 SOB through pretrial, reset further notice. And position 27 is a $1,000 surety bond, reset for SAP. That's it. Hold up, I think the parents for the young fellas is coming in right now. That we just was talking about. They're logging in right now.
Are you talking about Mr. Mustafa Miller, position 18?
Yeah, the young fella that we were talking about, the parent was just on the line. They're
Got
about-
it.
Miller, Mr. Miller's mother.
Yes. There she go.
Ms. Miller, can you hear me?
Not quite yet. Her auto's connecting.
Ms. Miller, can you hear me? Ms. Myers? Shake your head if you can hear me. We can't hear you because you're on mute.
Okay.
Okay, we've addressed is it your son, Mustafa Miller?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we've addressed his case. He received $1,000 surety bond, and he's not to go back to that Barnes and Noble. We're also going to have a social worker visit him to help with some of the issues that he has, okay?
Is mental stability?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, you have any?
Well, she can call me and stuff, but I don't know how he's gonna get out on bond. I'm not gonna bond him out.
It's my understanding. It's my understanding that he has a felony charge also that he is going to be held on in addition to this theft by shoplifting.
What's the felony?
It's a felony theft. Is that right, Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. It's a felony theft by shoplifting from the same location about 3 days after our offense.
Oh, he been showing out, huh? Yes, ma'am. He has a mental problem, and he also has a drug.
Ms. Myers?
Don't do what he's supposed to.
Oh, okay. So we will address
They can
that.
call me.
I'll have, is this Ms. Kim?
Yes,
Would you?
I'll be happy to call.
Okay, all right.
Sure.
So, do you have a number?
Yes, I have her number, Your Honor.
Okay, all right. Ms. Kim, who is representing him, will be in touch with you, ma'am, okay?
Yes, I'll call you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Good luck to you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And thank you all.
All right.
I appreciate the
Yes,
hard
sir.
work.
Y'all have a great day.
Thank you, Ms. Myers.
Yes, sir.
I'll get those
And,
ordered to you. Yes, I can.
with that, I guess I'll see y'all next time. Thank you so much. Okay, y'all have a good rest of the day.
Are you coming in tomorrow?
I am.
Okay. I'll
8:30.
try to have your counters together for you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, no, I'm supposed to have them together today. Tomorrow's Tuesday. I'm sorry, I won't have them together for you. I'm sorry. I'm thinking it's Thursday. I'm sorry, Judge.
All right. We'll see y'all later. Thanks.
Bye, everybody.